Howdy, my fellow dwellers of the internet, you fucking freaks. And welcome back to the beautifully horrific world of KENSHI. A world that truly possesses the spirit of the real American dream. A man can truly be whatever his soul desires. The game just offers so many different options for you to choose from. Perhaps you want to be a simple farmer just living off the local resources. It's fucking lame. Maybe you want to be part of a religious cult with a supremacy complex. Definitely beats being a farmer. Or if you're more disturbed in the head, like myself, perhaps you would enjoy being a cannibalistic tribal running around the desert eating human testicles. So good? In my opinion, that's pretty fucking dope. If you recall from my previous video, which you can check out here if you haven't already, we personally chose to start our own legitimate business venture manufacturing and distributing food cubes for public consumption. Now, we've been able to establish ourselves, but there's a lot of room for aggressive expansion. Specifically within the Holy Nation. Why? Because they've got all that fertile land and we need to impregnate it. Metaphorically, to increase our food cube production. Plus, it would be a great opportunity for our boys Nip and Nap to get even with their former captors. Now, with the current state of affairs, our roster is looking a bit empty, and we could definitely do with an increase in our farm bitches department, so that we can have a squad solely dedicated to making food cubes 24/7, so that our food cube samurais, aka the characters we actually care about, can go off and do whatever. But on top of food cube production, we also need to do something about these cannibal raiders. So I plan to install some crossbow turrets next to the gate so that we can enact our God-given right to protect our private property. But for our super smooth brains to even know what a crossbow is, I need to upgrade our research bench, which means I need more research books. So with that being said, I took our N-word nap out to get shit done, hiring us 3 new farmhands by the name of Taylor Swift, Digga, and Kitchen Knife, as well as picking up some more books to upgrade our research table, only to find out that we actually needed ancient books, and those are only found in abandoned ruins with scary robot spiders that want to cut our foreskin off. So it's time to take the gang out on our first real adventure, collecting old textbooks. And shortly into our travels, we came across a skeleton by the name of Burns.
Sup, nigga?
And after a short yap session with him, I decided I kinda liked this guy, and brought him along with us. Not long after, we located one of the ancient structures that houses the books I'm looking for, which means it was time to deal with the foreskin-eating robot spiders that inhabit the inside. To do this, I used a secret Chinese technique passed down to me from Sun Tzu himself, the art of baiting, luring my enemy from safety into an ambush. You could say I'm a master baiter. Once I'd made it to the top, I used another trick Sun Tzu taught me to avoid any further confrontation, the art of looting through walls. And what do you know? The books we were looking for. However, despite our success in the ancient ruins, we wouldn't get away completely unscathed, because sadly on the way back, we were attacked by another foreskin-robbing robot. And unfortunately, they stole Beep's foreskin. Fear not though, because we can and will make Beep great again. Once we made it back, I plopped down an upgraded research bench with our newly acquired ancient textbooks, and ran over to purchase Beep some cybernetic limbs. Beep's straight robot maxing now with his robo schlong, so you better hide your bitch. Actually, if you're watching this video, you probably don't have one.
Shalom everyone, it's me, Larry the Jewish Langfish, just here to remind you to like and subscribe. And while you're at it, leave a comment. You should tell me about your favorite Jewish tradition. You should also join the Discord server if you haven't already. Why? Because your good pal Larry told you to. And you wouldn't want to upset your good pal Larry now, would you? Anyways, until we meet again, my friends.
With that taken care of, we need to move on to more important things, like establishing our influence in the local area. And what better way to do that than by opening a store in World's End. And to run said store, I hired some random from one of the local bars. And now all we have to do is stock it up and passively collect income. However, I didn't just stop at World's End. No, I have ambition. So I constructed a second store at the hub, and hired employee number 2. Don't get too attached to him though, because I may or may not have forgotten about him and let him start to death. Thank God there's no such thing as workers' rights in KENSHI. Oh, and speaking of rights, I finally installed those mounted turrets in order to keep those homeless freaks off our property. But with that all taken care of, we just kinda sat around doing what we do best, making food cubes, which has nothing to do with me getting distracted and watching YouTube for 8 hours. Once I'd returned from my 10-hour gooning session, we got to willing and dilling, stacking some serious paper. Now, as any good financial advisor would tell you, money is completely useless unless you spend it. That's why we're gonna absolutely blow through everything we have. Fear not though, because unlike your sister's bad dragon purchase, purchases,
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
the item we'll be investing in will actually serve a legitimate purpose to a greater plan. To obtain these items though, we have to visit a skeleton by the name of the Armor King. He is, in fact, the King of Armor, selling some of, if not the best, you can find in the entire game. He is also a huge schizophrenic who talks to himself in the third person and always thinks we're trying to run his pocket. Anyways, after sitting outside of his shop for several days waiting for his inventory to restock, we paid an ungodly amount of money and purchased some new sets of specialist and master grade armor for our boys. But armor isn't the only thing we'll need to take down the Holy Nation, because you see, the Holy Nation is made up of a bunch of degenerate, but highly based, races. And they do not fuck with anything that is not human, or female for that matter. Although I guess there's an argument to be made that females aren't really human either. So, we're gonna need a good, strong, white, God-fearing conservative man. Not whatever the fuck this is. To find this person of interest, I searched around the United Cities, and bingo, a man by the name of Ethel. Congratulations, bud. You've been selected to be this month's diversity hire. Even with this though, we're not quite ready to make a move on the Holy Phoenix. We still have yet to really make a name for ourselves, and as far as the world is concerned, the fudcub samurais are just a bunch of lolcow larping weeaboos. What we really need is to do something big, something to really get our name out there and show that the fudcub samurais are not to be messed with. And what better way to prove that than by going out and retrieving bounties. Not just any bounties though, one of the biggest in Kenshi, the Bugmaster. That's a fucking lame ass name, not gonna lie. The general rundown on this guy is that he's been using a horde of man-eating bugs to terrorize the locals, and in the process of doing so, he's run up a huge bounty from the Shek Kingdom. Bringing him in would not only put us in great standing with the Shek, but it would also give us the recognition we truly deserve. But while gang set out to find the Bugmaster, I took our farm bitches over to World's End and decided to treat them a little bit by buying them some new gear. Now, they should be able to hold themselves better while all our good characters are out doing cool shit. Cool shit like tracking down the Bugmaster, which, quite honestly, didn't take us very long. Thank God for Wikipedia. So with no fear in our hearts, we charged headfirst into Arch, doing our best to avoid any bugs we came across.
Wait a second. What's that smell? It's you!
As well as slaughtering those who were unfortunate enough to spot us. We did this all the way until we reached the Bugmaster's throne, where we snuck up the ramp and were greeted by, you guessed it, bugs. We took care of them swiftly, and all that was left to do was confront the main man himself. But before that, I had to send Nap all the way to the nearest settlement because all that bug slaying had made us feel a bit starved. So once Nap had finished door dashing for the entire group, we filled our stomachs and finally confronted the Bugmaster himself.
ほう、向かってくるのか。
He did give us quite the fight, and I would even go so far as to say that this belongs in the top 10 anime battles of all time. But believe it or not, we managed to defeat him on our very first attempt.
You're right. I don't believe it.
Huh? What do you mean you don't believe it?
I literally watched you save scum this entire fight for over 30 minutes until you finally won.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Anyways, after beating the Bugmaster, first try, we looted his belongings, and this guy has an unhealthy obsession with human teeth. I don't know what the game means by possibly edible. We will not be consuming the forbidden popcorn, but we will be taking Bro's saber because it's one kick-ass sword. Once we finished up being a bunch of loot goblins, we delivered him all the way to the Shek capital of Admag, where they proceeded to cream their pants and practically worship us for bringing an end to this man's terroristic reign. Kind of similar to America's reaction to Obama's slaying of Bin Laden. Kinda fucked up, man. They were brothers. Not only did we get the financial reward for our deed, but they were so impressed with us that the queen offered her daughter to us as a recruit. See you later, virgins. Not gonna lie though, her stats are actually pretty good. This is a much welcome addition to the game. And because of this, we made a quick stop by the Armor King and purchased some new gear for our newest recruit. But now, with an established reputation and a factional ally on our side, it was time to start thinking about attacking the Holy Nation. Of course, we requested support from our new Shek bitches, and they were more than happy to oblige us in our crusade against the Phoenix. Our first target, the city of Stack. Now I hear you asking, but Baroon, how are you possibly going to attack the city with only 7 people? Yes, that is how you sound, by the way. And the answer to that is very simple. Cheese. You see, all we have to do is simply sit outside the front entrance and lure the city guards out in small groups, picking them off one by one. And once we've killed enough of those guys, we make our way into the city itself, fighting our way towards High Inquisitor Seta, who, I failed to mention earlier, is the governor of the city. Honestly, we can't really fight him here with all his goons and expect to win, so I had to lure him out of town away from all his guards in order to give ourselves a fighting chance. And I'll give it to him, he could take a lot of guys at one time. But in the end, our boys came out victorious and we brought Seta back to Admag to be imprisoned alongside Bugnigga. But with him gone, Stack was now under Shek control, and we were now one step closer to dismantling the Holy Nation. We then set back out to take on the town of Badteeth, but as it would turn out, the Shek had already taken that too, so all that was left was Blister Hill. But that seemed too quick and easy. To just gun straight for the capital would be kinda gay. What we needed to do was inflict even more chaos and destruction before we could allow this lame-ass country to finally die. And as it just so happens, there is one more major place that we could pursue. The slave camp of Rebirth. Using the same strategies we used for Stack, we beat down the guards. And funny enough, the slave master was just chilling on the other side of the entrance. So, I guess our job here is done. Nah, we can't be done that quickly. So we made our way back into the camp to lay down some more ass beatings on the paladins inside. And no, not for noble purposes. I could honestly care less if they have slaves. This is 100% personal. And once we finished up, we added the Rebirth Slave Master as one of the newest residents to the Admag prison. Anyways, I believe it's time for what we've all been waiting for. All that's left is Blister Hill. Using similar tactics we employed in both Stack and Rebirth, we were able to successfully fight our way through the city. Now, much like Seta before him, the Lord Phoenix is surrounded by a bunch of his cretins. Croutons? Man, I fucking hate English. And just like before, we don't stand much of a chance if we take them on while they're around. So, just like before, I use Nap to lure him out and away from any backup so we can engage him. This was it, our final battle with the Holy Nation, a 1-on-7. Seems like it'd be an uneven fight, yeah? Nah, it really wasn't. I safe scummed the fuck out of this fight. Thankfully though, we did manage to bring him down, after about 50 safe scums and some pretty severe injuries after the fact. Injuries that would make hauling his ass all the way back to Admag a very, very slow and painful process. But with the Lord himself in a cell, it was over. The Holy Nation was no longer of this planet. We were now finally free to roam around the Okran territories without any fear of being prosecuted and or enslaved. But, even more importantly, we were able to establish our own influence in the cities we helped the Shek conquer. And by building more fudcub storefronts in the former Holy Nation cities, we could really start to build our empire. With this all finally achieved, all that's left to do now is move our base of operation into Okran's Pride, so that we no longer have to worry about those annoying cannibal raids. And we could use the rich soil here to establish a better supply line for all our newly founded shops. And while we're in the process of doing so, perhaps we should start thinking about dissolving those nobles that run the United Cities. However, I think that will have to be its own video. Anyways, until my next summoning, and I promise it won't be 7 months. Swear.